So let me think of another way of reframing the question, which is based on my own life experience, which I thought is useful to share with you because I was a student of the department, not just being the department chair. And this achievement, so-called achievement that I want to share, which I'm very proud of, I think the whole, all our department staff are very proud of. It relates actually to me when I first joined the Department of Civil Engineering as an undergraduate student. That's how far back it goes. And then subsequently, I actually stayed back as a Master of Engineering students. That was I graduated in 1991 before I went to Cornell to do my PhD. I wanted to frame this date because at that point in time, I recalled that I was doing a research on a computer, on an IBM computer. And the whole department, I recollect, there were maybe only two PhD, whole department, there were maybe two PhD students and several master students. So that was a period that we came from where our primary activities were actually centered around teaching. Our research was growing, but it wasn't, clearly if you talk about two PhDs and a couple of masters, clearly we are not there yet. So this was a journey I wanted to frame how much the department has grown. In fact, also how the Faculty of Engineering has grown and also how NUS has grown, because I play a part in this journey. If we fast forward now to 2024, so that was when I joined as a student. What I read in the press now is that NUS is now swarmed under students and parents from China. Because I heard that in China only the Tsinghua Peita got this kind of experience, and also in the US only the top universities at MIT, which I went 2 years ago, and they do have the same kind of parents and students, walking around, not so much tourists, but to inspire a student. Hey, this is a great educational institution. I want to draw this so that I can situate your question about not so much my achievement. I think it's a achievement of the department where during my time when I served as the HOD, it was quite a pivotal moment because the whole university actually wanted to be, to go from very well to being a great university. And I don't mean ranking. I know everybody likes to talk about ranking. This has nothing to do with ranking. One part that I played in, and some of the younger folks may not have recalled, although I think the more senior colleagues would have recalled, we actually went through this very interesting exercise called research benchmarking. I don't know how many people remember. It was actually chaired by Professor Ko Chang-yi. I was the head of the department. I asked him to help me because Prof Ko is one of our top researchers in the department. So he checked this research benchmarking exercise with a few colleagues. What was so interesting at that point in time, and this was a university-wide activity, but we did very well because this was the first time compared in the past when we were doing what we call bean counting. You write like 10 paper, very good, or you write paper in certain journal, very good. But this report, I think I would count as a fairly important milestone because we did a very holistic exercise, like what do we need to do for the department to be seen as great, that we are contributing to society at large. Our work is actually meaningful, whether is it in terms of scientific discovery, or in the case of civil engineering, which we like to share with all our students. Actually, actually the whole civilization depends on us. Because without us, there's no built environment, there's no clean water, there's no road. And so our impact to the community and society was very important. This exercise has stuck in my head because it was not one of those many committee meetings that I used to attend, but there was so much honest conversation. Firstly, regarding, are we there? We are not there. Who are the university? We call them aspirant. Who are the university that we look forward to join their ranks, and which are the university that we think are equal? And we did a very thorough study, which I'll not go through the detail. Looking at where we publish, looking at where our research goes to, whether we influence any policies in the government, what about industry? You know, did our research got applied in the industry? I think all of you know all this, but I just wanted to say that the exercise took 2 years. That's how serious it was. It involved the whole department, many meetings. So it wasn't decided by me. It was a full engagement exercise where everybody discussed openly how good we were. And that report, I think, is still around, if I'm not wrong. That provided a lot of clarity. Number one, it shows that we are confident enough not to think about, actually, this is a sign of your confidence, just to share with you. We don't start talking about the journal papers they have published, how many citation, all this. We were at a stage where we are ready to have such a conversation because we are a serious university. I think NUS at that point in time, maybe we were ranked in the, just to use that number, right? I think we were ranked in the 25 or something during that time. And then our department has always been one of the highest rank in NUS. I don't know whether you all know. We are ranked roughly in the tens, close to the 10th, if I'm not wrong. And after this exercise was over, I remember when one of the report that I wrote before I stepped down, I think our department was ranked number 3 worldwide, not in NUS. We were the number 3 department in civil and structural engineering when I left the department. So I wanted to share this story because it's a story of maturation that people may not see. And this exercise you're doing is very valuable because it allows you to take stock from people like me who came in the very early years. Because I joined the department, I think, in the early 80s as a student, undergraduate. And I painted to you that journey that happens, that milestone that happens when I was the department head, very privileged. And you can see the big jump, And the second thing people don't understand, that besides this being a big jump, they don't understand how fast the jump was. So actually, if you talk to many of your friends overseas, everybody was so impressed by what we did. Actually, nobody has made that jump, that trajectory so quickly, And I think by now, as I said, the rest is history. That's why I talked to you 2024. How many people is coming NUS? I don't think, and I'm not saying it because I'm a NUS alumni, which I am, or I'm a past head of department. I'm just saying objectively that by now, the reputation of NUS is unimaginable compared to when I was a student. I cannot imagine this or even when I was a staff here. When I first joined NUS in the mid-90s. If I even go back to the mid-90s, it's unimaginable for people like me who went through the journey. So that to me is our collective achievement. It's not my achievement. I just give you all the historical point. Then maybe the younger people look at this video, they get a sense of the history and how much we have come through. So I thought I'd share this story. So I can have one thing that appears right on top of my head, and this is a very personal story. I recall when I was the head of department, I believe at that point in time, the environmental engineering group just joined us. So I won't go through the historical detail. If not, you'll be sitting here listening to me whole night. We were a department of civil engineering during that time, and then when I was the department head, we were already the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering. So as usual, when you got two different groups of people coming together, it takes time for us to merge and work well together. I think we're working well together among the faculty, but the event that totally touches my heart was that during my term as the head of department, I actually managed to get our students to run an orientation camp together. Let me tell you that has been quite difficult because even the students, the civil engineering students, prefer to be by themselves. The senior, they make friends among themselves. Then the environmental group, they have their own identity. So it's an identity. I identify to be an environmental engineer. I identify to be a civil engineer. And during my time, there was this particular first event that because I was invited to their closing ceremony. And I suddenly realized that our environmental engineering students and civil were actually playing together. I don't know whether it sounds a lot to you, but it sounds a lot to me. They played together and at that moment when I sat there watching them perform, they even have all this funny, like, who is the most handsome guy, who is the most, the Miss, Miss and Mr. CE. Actually, when I was sitting there, the thing wasn't the fun. I was so touched that I see signs that we are now a CE family, not CE, not EE, and that has always stuck in my heart that this family, that we coming together as a family, in my opinion, took place during my time in the office. Although again, I have no hands in it, but I could see the two groups gelling together. And again, if I fast forward, that has been the right decision. You look at all this sustainability and environmental engineering issue, I felt maybe not everybody agree with me. I felt that civil engineering would be somewhat incomplete if we have remained civil engineering without the environmental engineering part. So it's an event that I find very memorable. Your question is very good. In fact, I'm glad you posed that question. In fact, that question can be viewed in several ways because it's not, firstly, at the highest level, it's not even civil engineering student, although I'll get down to that. Because now that I'm working at SUTD, I have a chance to look at things in a very interesting perspective. Because SUTD is interdisciplinary, and we are kind of like very good in terms of solving the very large problems. So you need to integrate different disciplines together. Of course, one of the biggest things that I'm spending sleepless night now, which I'm sure all the colleagues here are feeling the same way, is the speed that the emerging technologies are coming. And one of the biggest emerging technology will be AI. I don't see it as a challenge, but I see it as a way of thinking how we can actually use AI to enhance what we are doing now in a very, very big way. And the best way I can describe to you all is to refer to the Turing test. I don't know whether you heard about the Turing test. It's a very famous test invented by Alan Turing, I think in the 60s or something, where he says that, how do you decide that an AI is effective or performing well? He says, let's do this simple test. So I put you, Paul, I put you behind a curtain. I put an AI behind a curtain. Then I ask you a question. Then you interview actually, you don't know what's behind the curtain. You just interview, pretending there are two humans inside. And if there's no way I can distinguish who is the human, then it so-called passes the Turing test. And that's his example of an AI achieving, maybe you can say in a very specific interview task, it achieve a near human cognitive capability. Recently, I've been proposing to everyone that I get a chance to talk to. So I myself share, since your question is related, that I'm now proposing a not Turing test. Not Turing. It's called a not Turing test. I said there's a problem with the Turing test. In that if you think about the Turing test, although it was unintended, the Turing test is about how the AI replaces the human. Because like, if I'm as good as you, I'm better than you, I replace you. It's an unintended consequences. So I'm suggesting that we should all come together and work on this test. It's called the not Turing test. What does the test do? The test actually tests whether your AI is helping any human. I think we can be very clever and invent a test. A human solve a certain task. The AI help a human. Then the task is done in a better way, whichever way you define. So firstly, I actually want to propose this test to our good friends in computer science and develop this test so that the AI now enhances the human so-called workforce. Certainly, whether you're talking about civil engineering or engineering, and this is actually happening at SUTD now. So it's not even future challenges, it's happening now. SUTD has graduated a cohort of students called Design AI. That means this program started 4 years ago. And this group of students are just simply trained not in domain expertise. So like they don't know civil engineering, they don't know architecture, but they know how to use AI to perform design. So the outcome of our experiment after 4 years is that this cohort of students now, in some of the projects we gave them, I still recall there was one project which we asked them to do architectural design. These are non-architects. SUTD has an architecture program like NUS. So this student can do the architectural design project faster and better than my architecture student. So this is it's not speculation now. I have the privilege of seeing this ringside seat in front of SUTT. It's a living proof that I don't call it a challenge. I actually thought that this is something that we all need to think about. There'll be specific parts of it that belongs to civil engineering, but I felt that this is where, given the fact that it is, to me, it's almost an unstoppable technology, this AI. It's not going to go away next year. I do not know whether everybody agree, but let's say it's not going to away next year. Then I think this is a wonderful time for us to work together. In fact, all different universities should work together, different programs, because ultimately we're still back to that basic, our mission. How do we nurture students so that they can get good jobs and they can have meaningful life ahead of them, right? And I suspect there can be other challenges, but I suspect this will be one major challenge, very big one. The second one is specific to civil engineering. So this is a horizontal applying to all of us. Second one, I thought our civil engineering, not just students, even all of us, the academics and also the practitioners, is back to my point about why I felt civil and environmental engineering together on hindsight, was the right thing, and that is sustainability, climate change. This is very big, and I would think that I would feel that it's a bit disappointing if our CEE department don't play a very big role. I know we are already, because I know we have a big project under the Coastal Defense Project, and there are probably many more that I'm not keeping track. And if we project ourselves right, by right, we should be attracting some of the most talented students in this generation to attack this problem. That means it's not a civil engineering problem. It's not building how to build nice houses on nice bridge, or even simple thing like a bridge to connect 2 points, or even transportation, big airports for planes to land. But I thought this narration is something we got to put front and center. That means it pervades everything that we do. Sustainability, and of course it's not independent of AI, because if we make this narration right, then the AI is supposed to help us find a effective solution. Off the top of my head, I can just think of this too, which is already very exciting. Any student that position themselves at the intersection, able to use AI, they can do it to solve climate change problems at the built environment level. I think the future of these students will be extremely bright. Everybody that I know of will want such a student. And if we can position that, there'll be one nexus. I believe the department is doing that already. So there'll be one nexus that, instead of calling it a challenge, I actually see it as the opposite, your question. Because I don't know whether you heard about the word, the greatest generation. This word was given to that group of 20-odd-year-old who fought in World War II. They were the greatest generation because without them, there was no free world. They put their life literally on the ground. They fought. They got killed. A lot of them got killed. And then because of that, the free world won. And then we secure this post-war World War II world. Again, it's undeniable that many people benefited from this world, just looking at your simple lifestyle. So I'm now thinking that our student now, that this cohort now, I think they got a chance to be the greatest generation. Because if they can come in and get inspired by us, they solve it or make a dent. You cannot tell me that our ability to slow down climate change or even make a partial dent, because then they secure the future for the next generation. So it's a bit like fighting World War II all over again. Equally an impossible battle. Looks like you're going to lose. I don't know whether you read World War II. I'm a military historian. And if you read the books, I think there were many points in time where I think maybe history will turn out differently. And people cannot imagine what happened if history turned out differently. All these wonderful things, tomorrow you can go Changi Airport, get a ticket, fly to another country. So this basic freedom won't be there if they lost. Just to use a simple example. And I just want to use that word that instead of challenges, why don't we tell the student they can be the greatest generation? Because the problem is right at their doorstep. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, your question is related to the previous question, except now I think you're centered on the student. Yeah, so it's so that's the way I interpret your question. You're now centering on that student who either they have graduated recently or they're about to graduate, that cohort. And of course, you read all kinds of things. There'll be all kinds of people saying either positive or negative things about that generation. But incidentally, just to share with you, actually every generation doesn't say good things about the previous generation. So firstly, there's nothing new. But I think what is very special about this group of graduates, if I could use this opportunity of this interview to get my words across to them, I just want to say to this graduate that the most fundamental thing they have to recognize, in my opinion, and maybe I speak broadly rather than CEE, is that going forward is more likely than not that the future is uncertain. Many people say that all over the years, but when I said, just to share with you, you all would know that my expertise is risk. I spent my whole life doing geotechnical risk. So it cannot be that I know nothing about uncertainty. So firstly, I qualify that I claim that I'm the expert. When I say something is uncertain, it literally means it's uncertain. It's not like what you say in the 80s, what you say. I'm not talking about uncertainty in the stock market. I'm not talking about uncertainty, like don't know whether you can get your BTO flat. I don't mean any of that. I meant the future is fundamentally uncertain. Now, that's an important point for a graduate to register. If they register this point, then immediately they will know that they need to adopt a certain strategy for their pathway ahead. And that strategy cannot be based on a 10-year plan. Then if they think about a 10-year plan for themselves, and then they go to a certain place to do a certain job, following a linear pathway, then actually they have to understand they are gambling that Prof Phoon is wrong. Because that kind of plan can only work if there's no uncertainty. They may not have thought that way. I'm just framing it that it means that you can plan ahead. You can plan 10 years, actually, to me, is a certain future. If you cannot plan 1 year ahead, then I would think it's uncertain. Using just an example, 1 year, 10 year, very stuck. I want to share with them that they have to think personally now, because I don't want to tell them many things. I just tell them one thing. They have to decide whether the future is certain or uncertain. It's their call, their life. If they decide it's uncertain, then they will know that they need to adopt a strategy that will fit a changing world, which means that everything that they have been taught, how to stay agile, how to stay adaptable, and how to stay resilient, will be like more important than learning how to calculate bending moment, learning how to do power design, learning how to. It'll be more important because that will be their basis for them to have a, well, not just having a good life, having a flourishing career is actually predicated on this ability, making that decision. And then after they make that decision, then they decide that, hey, I will need to really stay nimble, agile, and adaptable. Many people said that to them, but no one actually, I think very few people tell them that actually all these attributes that even ministers are saying in the newspaper, actually no one drew it to the root cause. The root cause is whether the future is certain or uncertain. There's only one decision point. If it's certain, actually you don't need to be agile and resilient. No need. Actually, don't listen to people. Why do you need it? But if it's not, then you got to behave in a totally different way. So for the graduates, actually, I see this bifurcation. There are many things I could have shared with them, but I told you I want to share one thing per question. The bifurcation for them is more stark than all other generation because all other preceding generation don't have this certain, uncertain. That means the gamble between certain and uncertain is not as stark like what they're facing now. And of course, personally, I bet it's uncertain. I really bet it's uncertain, but I'm not, I won't, since I recorded on video, 5 years later, you can come back to me. If I'm wrong, you can come back to me. But if I'm right, then maybe it's at least recorded on video that Prof Phoon has advised this, and those who heard me, they want to do a deep reflection and decide how they want to not just manage it. By the way, I let me end here. When people talk about risk, people always tell me, hey, Prof Phoon, you're always talking about risk and all these are negative news. And you know, how you sleep at night. So actually, I take this opportunity to close my words. Actually, risk is not about bad things, There's also another misperception. People think risk means threats lah, lose money lah. But you think about it, how do people doing venture capitalists, use an example. Some of the richest people in the world is venture capitalists. And they take bets, And they take big bets, maybe millions of dollars, $100 million. They invest in startup, and usually that fails, I think you all know that, right? So they bet 10, 9 fail. They are very rich. So it's a living demonstration of risk. And yet they are doing well, flourishing, actually doing better than all of us. So risk is not bad. The other example, you go and gamble. Lose your house, go bankrupt. That one also risk. Gambling. But that one is bad. So I thought I just close this remote. I thought about risk. It doesn't mean it's all bad. If you are smart, in other words, you know how to manage this correctly, then actually you'll flourish. So I'm hoping that our graduates, if they are listening to this, they'll be thinking how they can be venture capitalists. The company they're investing is themselves. They are the startup. Invest in themselves and make their company, which is them, into a unicorn. So maybe I can start by saying that I am actually a product of CEE. I literally grew up here, as I've said, as an undergraduate student. I exit as a senior vice provost, and I'm now president of SUTT. I would like to say that the department, I owe everything to the department, and I hope the department is very proud of what one of our students, which I'm one of the students, has achieved. So this is my chance to thank the department very, very much. So happy anniversary, CEE. I love you very much.
Thank you.